Welcome into this Five Clubs conversation. I'm Gary Williams. When you look every single week on the PGA Tour, everybody who wins is a story. They're all good stories, whether it's Rory McIlroy or Lee Hodges and everybody in between. And if you look at the way this year has started and the people who have won, and obviously Nick Dunlap is particularly unusual, but you know who else is? Grayson Murray. Grayson Murray is somebody who a year ago probably was hopeless. I know the feeling because he had something that was taking over his life, and something that even though he thought maybe he could control, he had no control over it. And that is the disease of alcoholism. We're going to talk about his win at the Sony Open, but we're going to talk about how he got there, the road back to feeling like there's faith and hope in your life. His conversation is next.
I think this is only a grip.
It's only my sole connection to this.
It's only in my hands on every single shot.
It's an extra 2 yards of carry when it matters most.
Yeah, only a grip.
Mine are only golf pride.
Respect the grip.
And with that, we welcome in the winner of the Sony Open, Grayson Murray. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Gary. How are you, bud?
I'm doing great. You know, when you look at the beginning of this year on the PGA Tour, it's like, really? Can you write scripts that people go, no, I don't believe that. That couldn't happen. That won't happen. And there you are right in the middle of it. And we're going to get to all the golf because unless you did what you've done over the last 8+ months, there'd be no golf. You know that. So let's start, the darkness before the dawn. What were the things that were happening in your life that had you think that, God, I mean, where's the hope? Where's the light? What was going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think my identity was in golf, and it was tough because whenever I had a bad day on the golf course, it seemed like there was no outlet besides to maybe go to a bar and drink or go to my hotel room and drink. And once I figured out that my identity wasn't golf and it was first and foremost my Lord and Savior, and then secondly my fiance, and thirdly it was my family and friends. And once I figured out that I could lean on all three of them, and golf became kind of secondary, I guess you could say. It became a lot easier. I became that I didn't have to turn to that alcohol when I had a bad round. And that was about 9 months ago, like you said now. And life has been so much better because of it. Obviously golf has been better, but we're talking about life here. And it's a real game changer for me. And, I think this sitting here right now talking to you in this conversation, it wouldn't have happened if I didn't find my identity 9 months ago.
As somebody who is walking a similar journey as you are, and that is, seeking that daily reprieve and being in a life of recovery. And I'm okay talking about it. I'm more than okay talking about it. It's actually helpful for me. And the reason I wanted to pursue this is because you and I thought we were terminally unique. We're like, there's nobody else who can think like I do. There's no way. But you and I think similarly. We think like alcoholics. And it's hard for people who are not to even understand it. And thank God they don't. As far as, saying, I give up, I can't do this anymore, was there a conversation? Was there a solitary moment that you said, you know what? I got to give up in order to try to win, to try to get back to being normal, to have peace in my mind and in my life? Was there a moment or a conversation?
Yeah, I mean, Well, first and foremost, I think giving up, I wanted to give up on a lot of things. I think I wanted to give up on golf. Um, but I think what made me want to give up on golf was because I wanted to give up on things in life first. And um, like I like I mentioned, I think my identity was just wrapped around too much in golf. And once I figured out that golf wasn't the issue, my bad play wasn't making me miserable. It was the other things off the course making me miserable. And um, I think once I got to put my hand around that and wrapped around and said, you know what, I got issues like you just mentioned. It's okay that some people don't understand them, but I am going to go to someone who can understand them, and we're going to get some help. And basically, just letting my ego just leave my body and let someone who is very understanding in this type of topic help me out. And that's what I did. And it was about 3 years ago this summer that I actually went first time to rehab. And that was a very, very mind and body out of moment experience
Yep.
where I kind of got there and was like, I'm gonna be I have I guess you could say I'm going to be a better alcoholic than these guys I'm going to be in rehab with. I think I know more than they do. And, maybe I don't drink as much as they do, or it doesn't affect my job maybe as much as they do, or I haven't lost everything like they have. And so I thought maybe, hey, you know what? My alcoholism isn't as bad as theirs. Well, I was totally wrong. And mine was just as bad. And luckily for me, I was in a place where I felt like everyone in there was a little older than me and maybe have gone through it, and it didn't work the first time or it didn't work the second time. And there was no judgment in there whatsoever. They're
Yep.
really good to me. They opened up to me like I opened up to them. And it was awesome. It really was. I was scared to death. And when I walked out of there, I was like, oh, all right, I'm done. I'm never going to take a sip. And fast forward a little bit, and I did. I thought maybe, hey, I can, just like every other alcoholic, I can have one sip again and it'll be fine. And it took a few tries to kind of get back to where 9 months ago here I am. And I used those experiences, those learning lessons in rehab to this final last time. I would say that I didn't have to go back to rehab. I kind of did it on my own and learn or use some of those resources from the past and called some people. And I'm not going to ever say that like I know everything about this topic, because I never will. But I do have a better understanding and kind of know my triggers. Those are, words that we like to use a lot, are triggers, like what causes me to want to pick up a drink, avoiding those triggers for me. And, I think just knowing how good life is right now and not having to even want to pick up a drink has motivated me.
When you were talking about, it's funny, you be around people who had similar experiences. You find yourself smiling because there's a relatability, and it's not smiling in like you said. There's an absence of judgment when you're around other people who have had a similar path. But what your mind was doing was, rationalize, like, maybe I'm not as bad as they are. And the justification that, well, I haven't experienced the depths that some of these other people have. And that's what the disease is doing to you. The disease is trying to get you to believe that you can drink in a civilized way again. And it did it to me. I had multiple relapses, and I would get to 6 months, 8 months and go, yeah, you know what? I can have a single malt scotch, and I don't even like scotch, and put my finger out. You know where I wound up? Sitting in a closet in the dark with a handle of vodka, because the disease has one goal: to kill you. And it wants you to be vulnerable to seek isolation. Was isolation your place? Were you trying to get back to your hotel room? You're trying to get away from people. Was that a garden variety behavior of yours to get away from others?
Yeah, I think I think it became isolation at first. I think it was let's go do this in public and just not make a fool of myself, but just let people know that like I have an easy way out if I do go play bad golf. Like they saw me at the bar till midnight, like, hey, this kid just shot 78 and he was in the bar for till closing the bar down. Like, hey, good for him. He could shoot 78. So it was almost like it was like I was trying to defeat this disease in public in a way, and it was like a kind of a my way of like trying to show off a little bit, right? Like a mini John Daly, and I love that guy, so I shouldn't even like mention, but he does have this disease that we have, and
Yep.
I think that was like uh, my way of like trying to stay relevant in this sport was to like, oh, Grayson can be a mini John Daly and play golf and drink and keep his card and then it became, you know what, people know about it and this isn't working. My strategy's not working, so to speak. And now let's go to my room and just do it in silence. And that's kind of where it became the last, before this last 9 month stint. When I finally became sober 9 months ago, I was, doing it, drinking before the rounds in the car, or on the way to, in the parking lot at the course, or I was doing it, in the hotel room before I played, and yeah, it was a lonely, lonely feeling for sure, Gary.
Grayson, when I went to treatment, this whole thing about hope. I remember distinctly after doing this assessment where you almost feel like, God, am I being incarcerated? Like that's and there's a soul stripping kind of experience of what that's like. And I've never felt more hopeless. I felt my career slipping away. I felt my family being at a point of no return with fear and anger and sadness and desperation. And I didn't know when the hope was going to start again. Do you remember when you started to feel like, I do have hope? And maybe I have hope because I have a little bit of faith that maybe I can do this, do it today. And then there's tomorrow. Do you remember where you felt like your mind and your heart were somewhat turning a corner and believing there was hope for you?
I thought there was hope the day I entered rehab. I thought this was, going back to almost 3 years ago. And then when I let my guard down, that's when I lost my hope again. And it was really hard to see that like hope for me again for a while. I felt like it was a dark time there for basically 2 years of I didn't see any hope, Gary. I didn't think that I thought my career was going to be over with. I thought I was a failure. There's a lot of things that I felt I let people down, and the only hope that I can always go back to is just my family and my mom and dad and how they never gave up on me. And when you see people like that who I'm lucky because there are family members. That's why people end up on the streets. That's why people end up with nothing, is there's finally everyone around their circle say, you know what, he's not going to get better. We're just going to have to let him do it on his own. And I was lucky and had those, my parents that never gave up on me. And, a lot of times it was hard because you were like, Mom, Dad, like, I'm a grown man. Let me just figure this out on my own, stay out of it. And they didn't. They God behold, they never gave up. And that was the turning point, was when I came back from Mexico last year, and on the flight home, just feeling like I would rather be jumping out of this airplane than living with my anxiety level. And I got home and basically locked myself in the room for 3 or 4 straight days. Didn't eat, didn't drink. And I said, I had that moment where I was like, God, if you're there, please listen and just let me just get me through these 4 days. And I promise I'll be done with it. Like, thank you for giving me this chance to give up one more time on this disease, because I just want to be done with it. And that's what happened. those 4 days were lonely and very, very tough, but I surrendered again at that point, and that was the turning point of all of this.
That, it's the biggest word is the surrender. There are a lot of paradoxes with the disease, as you know, and that in order to win, you got to give up. You got to surrender. You got to stop fighting it, which you did. You said something immediately after you won the Sony Open, and it was, it was something that you attributed to something you heard from somebody else, and it was a combination of, Jim Valvano, and you're from that part of the world, Stuart Scott. When you can't fight anymore, let somebody else fight for you. And you mentioned your parents. Did you get the sense that your parents at the end was there more fear and sadness? Was there anger? Was there frustration? What do you think was their overriding emotion that they had seeing their son, who they had to feel helpless? That is a certainty. My mother certainly felt it. What do you think was the overriding emotion that your parents were experiencing right there at the end?
Fear. They're fearful. They're fearful of just, or are they going to wake up and one day get that phone call that I'm gone? Or are they going to get that phone call that I driven and killed someone? Or are they going to get that phone call? Whatever it might have been. God will be, willing that it wasn't. But whatever they, those horror stories you hear about in the news of a good person just making a wrong decision and because they are, under the influence. That's what I think they're fearful of. And, they can't put me on a leash. They couldn't put me on house arrest. They could, whatever they wanted to do to just not make me make that decision under the influence, they couldn't do. And they felt helpless and they felt a lot of fear. And, that scared me because I think, I knew that if I were to do something, whether it had been what I just said, just something that would have really hurt someone's family or my family, or myself, I think it would have not only taken me down, but it probably would have taken my dad down real quickly. I get emotional about this because
of course
he's been my rock, and he lost his best friend to this disease, and a lot of other habits that I had, his best friend had. So it was a very sad time because I didn't want my dad to have to go through it not only with his best friend, but his son. And, he's getting up there in age, and it would have been very, not only would it have been a bad thing for our family, but also for, I have a brother and sister that need their dad as well. And I have a mom that needs their dad. And now I have two nephews that need their, peepaw. And once I started thinking the bigger picture, not just about myself, that made it clear of what my message was, that God was sending me. And once I felt that message, it just was a peace that came down, and that I could give my father and my mother and everyone that, hey, you know what, they can go to bed and not have to worry about me. And that's the greatest gift I feel like I can give them as a son now at 30 years old.
Grayson, it'd be very hard for anybody to not have the disease of alcoholism, whether it's directly or by maybe 1 or 2 degrees of separation. It's everywhere. And my mom, before I went to treatment, said something. My mom's the most selfless, compassionate person in the world. But her point to me when she said this was the damage that it does beyond the person who is in the grips of it. The collateral damage is extensive. And she said, you need to understand when you get well, which you will, that you essentially stood in the middle of your family and pulled the pin on a hand grenade. Because whether it's PTSD and the fear that your parents had, or children like I have, you're in a different stage of your life, and thank God, you're attacking this at a younger age. It does a ton of damage to a lot of people, and that's the thing that I think gets lost for a lot of people who maybe it's not directly affecting. is that there is a ripple effect, what it could have done to your dad, what ostensibly it would have done to your brother and to your sister. And I can understand why you get emotional, because I can tell you this, that, and I'm okay saying this now, my wife at the end, and again, I'd walk in the door every day and there was a lot of tension in our house. She said, you make lying so easy, because I was trying to cover my ass from the fact that I was in the throes of this thing. And I kind of shrugged, and I tried to get past the tension that was in that room. And when I finally got the help that I needed, and I could, tell her the truth, which was, it wasn't easy. It was exhausting. Every day I was locked in just this desperate level of dishonesty. So to be able to be honest, to tell the truth, and by the way, not be guilty of anything. You talk about peace, and I say all those things because when I watched you on the golf course at Sony, you were uncommonly level. And I'm like, that's not just because he knows he can do this. There's something else at work here. You're dealing with a level of grace, and I know gratitude that you probably have never experienced in your life. Have you felt as calm and as level as you have in the last 8 months doing what you're doing to treat yourself and be in recovery?
No. I mean, I think a lot of it is knowing that I don't have to juggle a second job anymore. Like
It's
you
a
alluded to.
full-time job.
It's a full-time job, and try to do 2 full-time jobs. You can't. And so now I have my full focus on what I love to do. And now I can give even more focus to the people I love. And it doesn't wear you out anymore. It's like one of those things where you walk out on the course and you feel calm, and you feel like, hey, look around for a moment and realize, hey, this is what I get to do. Like, this is fun. Like, this is not, they say, it's always a saying that if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, yeah, you do. Like, but now I understand, like, it is, it's true. I really do feel like I don't work a day in my life when I'm out there all competing, because it's just what I love to do. And, there are times where you're going to have to put in the work and that you're not going to like. And, that's just part of it. That's part of anything we do in life. We're going to have to put in some work if things, aren't going our best, or what we want to happen. And that's just part of anything in life. You're going to have to work at it a little bit. But it definitely feels like I have just one job now, and I can give a lot of my attention to the people I love, who, pretty much gave me all their attention for so long.
Grayson, you won't remember this. You and I met at the Junior Invitational, and I remember exactly where we shook hands. You were walking off the 10th green. You were walking back to the 11th tee at Sage Valley. And I was, look, you were among the elite of the elite. Not to mention you had a connection to a family that I think the world of, like you do, the Waugh family. So I was taking a particular interest where you were going next. And the college years were circuitous. You went from here to there. And do you think, have you done any examination on, where your mind was in your teenage years? Because it's not just about your drinking, as you know, it's about your thinking. It's not just about the alcohol. Like, there are things that I thought and did, and cynicism and resentments and being pissed at people that yeah, it can be a byproduct of me being under the influence, but it can be more than that. Do you think that the early part of your life that your thinking was off kilter at all?
I think, I started drinking when I was 16. So, that was the time of, like, before college, where you're,
Yep.
Really important years of your life, and, your brain's still developing and all that. So
Yep.
I definitely think it had an influence on the way I thought. And, I will never, my parents were, they couldn't raise me any better, right? They raised me, if you met my parents, you would realize how good of people they are, and how I ended up how I did. No, I'm just kidding. They really are the very most gentle people in this world. And, I think at a fault to they were a little too lenient on me at times. And, looking back, that's how they had to handle me because they knew how I would, react if they didn't. And they were just being good parents. And I think at times when I got upset and wanted to take the easy road, which is to probably quit at times, they were like, okay, well, then we're going to figure out a different plan. And that's what happened a few times in college, right? I wanted to quit Wake Forest and, I had Jerry Haas over there saying, no, you don't want to do this. And then I had my parents saying, well, if we do, we're going to have to figure out a different plan. And it was always like I took the easy way out and I felt like I was always going to have a second chance, right? And I got a lot of second chances in my life, more than most people do. And, I think it came to a point where I was like, how many times am I going to get this lucky? Like, how many times is God going to give me another chance? And I didn't want to find that out. I wanted to take action on my own. And that's just what I had to do.
The behaviors that we all regret, and it's not just people who, are alcoholics. We got to atone for our behaviors the best we can. What has been your method in the way that, you've gone about, again, we can't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. I've had to make a lot of amends and I've had to, right a lot of wrongs with people that, even things that I subtly maybe wasn't even aware of. And then you start to examine like, shit, I gotta make that right. And it's not about beating yourself up. It's not about, God, I was a horrible person, but I did things that I regret. What has the process been like for you with respect to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long road, right? Like I think all throughout, let's go back to when I was 16 till now. That's a lot of years. It's 14 years of, making a lot of wrongs. And I think for a while, it was just living in total, almost like I'm not doing anything wrong, right? Like I'm in delusional, and it became a point where it's like, all right, if enough people point this out, it probably is something I'm doing wrong, right? It's not a them problem, it's a me problem, and it's been, it's going to be, it's still, this process will never end. I think, as you know, it's
No.
not like it's not a date where I have like, all right, I got to make up to all these people by this date or it will never happen. I think over time you earn people's trust. That's all you can ask for is people's trust and forgiveness. I truly had to, forgive myself first before you can start asking for forgiveness from people. And once I gave myself the I guess the forgiveness that I needed, it became easier to ask for forgiveness from people. And I really truly believe that everyone out there believes in second chances, loves a story of second chances, and I don't think anyone in this world has gone without a second chance or third chance, and have made mistakes and have to ask for forgiveness. And so at this point, I'm at the piece of people are going to forgive me. It might take time. Some people are going to do it on their own terms, and that's okay. It might not be on the terms that I want, but and then for the people that don't, I guess it's at the end of the day, I whatever, if they can go to bed happy with their decision, then that's all I can ask for. I'm not gonna sit here and say I want forgiveness from certain people. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that if they got a bad version of me in the past, they can expect a better version of me going forward.
Last thing on this part of this conversation. Again, it's amazing you find yourself in these situations and you're like, God, how did I get here? And I was on a two-way kind of like this, but I had a stranger sitting in the room with me in a treatment facility. And my wife is on the other end of this conversation, and she's been put through hell. And she said, how am I going to know it's going to be different? not an easy question to answer. And you know, this was not rehearsed, but I said to her, I said, you know what, I'm done telling you. I just have to show you. And that's kind of what it is. It's behavior, it's action. It is what you're doing every day, because believe me, my life became a con. Every day it was, how do I get from the beginning of the day to the end of the day without being found out? And it was, like I said, it was an exhausting exercise. And it was like crossing the line of a marathon. And then it's like, okay, I got to figure out how I'm going to do this again tomorrow. That was every day. So I told her, I said, I'm done conning you. I just have to show you. So it's not about speaking as much as about just doing it. Let's get to, you know, getting back to what you love and finding the joy in doing something that you're, you know, supremely skilled at doing, and that is playing golf. When did it become where it was, okay, I'm finding balance again. I was I was completely tilted, and now I'm finding balance again and equilibrium that I can pursue this again. When did you start to feel that?
Pretty much immediately after I finally gave up drinking, like 9 months ago. I mean, I think it took a couple weeks to be like, all right, I'm actually doing this. Like, it's not just like saying, you know, we're actually going to show people or show myself that I'm done drinking. And it's not going to be one of those like, let's go 5 months and then maybe we can pick it up again. Like, you're all in this time, right? So once I like convinced myself or showed myself that, hey, like, this is the last time we're done. And it was immediately after that, like, I feel like the calmness started immediately. You know, it was the golf. Like, obviously, I started having pretty good success quicker than I thought. And it was, if anything, it just showed me that, like, it was always there. Like, I always had it in me. I had no one to prove it to, except for myself. And I think my mom told me, like, not long ago, she's like, Grayson, I knew it all along. Like, if you just were to ever put it down, like, what you had, you know, all this talent that you had in you would show. And she was right. I mean, I think it was just hibernating for so long. And I feel like that now that I had this burden off my shoulder, I can really just have fun at it again and be a kid again. And that's the most exciting part, I think, is like knowing that I can go out there and swing freely like a kid. I can go out there and putt freely like a kid. I have my hands back. I mean, Gary, for a long time, I couldn't, like, my hands were one of the, like, I had to drink to just have my hands. And, you know, I don't have that problem anymore. I go out there and I have shots that I haven't had shot. I mean, I just can hit shots. I can make putts. I can do the things that I haven't had in so long. And it's a cool feeling. Like, it's like one of those feelings that I don't know how to describe it, but I will say that feeling like a kid again is really cool. And it's a feeling that when I go to the course and I see these 6, 7, 8-year-olds practicing and going out and just whacking balls, I guess that's the way I can say I feel right now.
The final round at Sony, you were, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rounders with Matt Damon. When he's just hanging around. He's got alligator blood. You just kept hanging around, and you're hitting and making, you know, these terrific up and downs, fabulous bunker shots, staying present, staying in the moment, shot for shot. Just take me through the processing you were doing last 5, 6 holes and your awareness level of where you were. And obviously you had Keegan right there. Just give me a thought about, just looking back on it now, a few weeks removed, about your ability to process what was going on.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I was at peace like pretty much the whole tournament, right? And that gave me the chance to have a chance on the final 9 holes on Sunday. And that's all you can ask for when you're teeing it up on Thursday. Just give me that chance with 9 holes to go. And that's what I did. I put myself in that opportunity. And it was a day that I think me and Keegan were a little flat. Both of us were trying to hang in there tough all day, which we did. And I really I felt like I was going to win all day. I felt like I was going to make a shot or make a putt that was going to be that moment that I was, going to say, all right, we got this. And I had a lot of good bunker shots coming down the stretch and hit, made the putts that I needed to make and really um, just gave myself that chance on that last hole. Just said, hey, let's make birdie. Ben On's in there already at 17 under, and we know we have to get to that to even have a chance for a playoff. And that's what we did. We hit that shot in there in regulation,
Yeah.
and I knew I was going to hit it close. It's like one of those like moments where you're like, all right, just give me the yardage. I'm going to hit this close. I don't care what the yardage is. I'm going to find a way to get this in there close. And you at that point you feel a little, I guess, like it's out of your hands because Keegan still had a putt to win the tournament, and that's a tough feeling, when you're standing there and you're like, all right. Keegan's made some big time putts and some big time moments. So you expect for him to make it. And when it didn't go in, we kind of were like, all right, I have a chance again. Like I got this chance on a playoff. And when the playoff rolled around and I didn't hit my best drive and we had to lay up again, it was like, you know what? I have this long putt and I know I'm going to have to make it because one of them are going to make it and I'm going to have to just force another playoff hole. And that was our mentality. And that was that moment that I thought I was going to have at some point during the day was that big putt. And that's when it happened. And as I look back on the patience and the trust I had all day, it was like you just said, just sticking around. And, it's the mentality that is easy to like say out loud, like be patient all day. You don't have to, force anything. But at the end of the day too, like you're playing against guys who've won in the past or really good players and they're not going to falter. You're just going to have to rise above them at some point. And, maybe in the majors, guys will falter a little more because it's maybe a little more pressure to win a major or more things come from it. And I think that's the Brooks mentality. I think he sticks around in majors and he's found that works for him. And that's what I'll try to do for the rest of my life on Sundays is to have that mentality. And at the end of the day, it's like you have nothing to lose. Like just go out there and really try to give your full focus for, the time that you are out there. And if you get beat, then who cares? But we have a saying right now that my mental coach and I worked on, and that's just if you go home and look in the mirror in third person, if you just ask yourself, did I make Grayson proud today? And if you could answer yes, then that's all you can ask for.
The that Koepka playbook, I was actually sitting there at the PGA when he deconstructed the field before he went out and did just that about eliminating those who think they can, those who might, but they're going to falter. That's really the Nicklaus playbook. Jack he said it countless times in his 18 major wins. Like he might have played his best 6 times. Just wait for somebody else to make a mistake. And in particular, the U.S. Open, he said, most guys see those 18 flags and go, I can't do this. Like it's just, just dig in, hang around, and let somebody else make the blunder. And it wasn't like those guys did. Obviously, Ben had a short putt after he made the bomb. In the aftermath, I didn't think it was going to be an easy thing for you to go right to the American Express. But you did, and you honored the commitment, and you played. The time with the people in your life, your fiance, your family. My dad always said to me, collective achievement is one of life's great rewards. You didn't do this alone. You didn't get back across the finish line, and it's different from when you won the first time. You're a different person. You're at a different place. Those conversations, those moments, sharing it with those people, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen my parents since then. We FaceTimed and whatnot, and but yeah, being with my fiance and her folks and her family, over these last few weeks, we've kind of adopted Palm Springs as our house out here on the West Coast, and it's been, like you said, I played American Express, and sometimes it's really tough to just kind of back a win because of all the obligations you have, but I felt like it was the right thing to do, and also I think it was important for me to play in front of to her family and to show them that this is their son-in-law that they're about to get, and he's not going to be a giver-upper. He's going to go out there, and even with his not his best stuff, he's going to grind it out. And unfortunately, we missed the cut, but it was. Having this time to just spend with them has been really, you can't put it in words, because those are the ones that are going to be with you when you do miss cuts, and you're going to go through these points in your career where they might not be the best highlight reels. And anytime you can spend the time with the people like that have your best interest, whether you're winning or missing cuts, is always special. And it finally feels like that I can, obviously Nick winning at American Express, what a heck of a story that was, and I'm so happy for him, and he's a really good kid and deserves it. And I feel like my win's kind of on the back burner a little bit now because of an amateur just winning. And I talked to him after the tournament too, and I said, "Look, buddy, don't get tired of saying thank you to all these people that are going to come up and congratulate you, because you're gonna win a lot, and get used to it." And it's one of those things that it is tough because you're trying to practice, Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday before the tournament starts, and you're getting kind of grabbed at every angle. But it's one of those things that you have to just embrace, and tell yourself that if I want, that's what I want to be doing. So let's get used to this, because we want this to happen a lot.
The horizon of opportunity for you now is very different looking than it was a couple weeks ago. Signature Series events, the Masters. When you look out there and being in the position that you're in as far as schedule, what's the most important thing that you need to do to be right, to be productive, to be the best that you can be with the season that you have in front of you?
I think for me is just to realize that I'm going to be tired. I'm gonna play a schedule that I'm going to be playing against the best players in the world who have been doing this for a while, who've had this schedule for a while. I feel like I'm kind of a rookie in a sense, because it's just a new schedule for me, new opportunities for me. And I'm going to have to just, to really listen to my body and listen to when I need rest, just take it, and realize that I'm going to be prepared. There's a different way to be prepared now, besides, golf prepared, physically prepared. You can be mentally prepared and still perform well. And I think just really focusing each and every opportunity that I am able to get each week. Don't look too far ahead. Don't look at what I am in. Just look at next week, which is Pebble Beach, and really take it just week by week. And I think my plan right now is to never play more than 3 in a row. My body, my mind just cannot handle more than that. And it's kind of, when I was looking at the schedule, that's kind of how the bigger events fall. It's like you can play about 3 in a row, and then there's, a couple events before maybe a major, another signature event. So I think they strategically do that for the guys who really just want to play about 20 to 24 events a year. And just be excited. Like it's a great thing what I'm doing, like the opportunity that I have now, and get excited that I could play against, the Scotty Schefflers and the Roy McIlroys, and Jordan Spieth and Morikawa and everyone that that has been at the top of our game for so long. It's I think it was like Brian Harmon who texted me, and I said I get to see you more this year, buddy, and he's like, I can't wait. It's one of those things that's like some of those guys you never got to see much during the year. And now it's like, hey, I get to see these guys and I get to play against them and get excited for it and know that I'm one of them too now. It's not just by accident that I'm in these fields. I've earned my way and relish those opportunities.
All right, let me get you out of here with these 5 quick questions. Is there a thing or place you appreciate now more than ever?
I would say bed, but I've slept so much before.
That wasn't really sleep. That was just exhaustion and passing out.
I know. I appreciate my fiance more than ever right now.
Okay. The player this year who will win for the first time that no one knows that well right now? Is there somebody, give me a future bet, somebody who's going to break out?
I would say I got 3 for you. Kevin Yu, who was actually a first-round leader this year.
Yep.
Or this week. Kevin Yu is going to win this year. I think Steven Yeager is going to win. I mean, I'm going off the leaderboard right now, but it's true.
He's obviously he's been super productive on the Corn Ferry Tour. That'd be a great story.
Yeah. And then I think Sam Stevens, who came in second at Valero.
Yeah, Sam Stevens is like a 47-year-old man in a 27-year-old body. Like I did a little thing with him last year, and it's like, oh my God, this guy is like, and I mean this in the best way. He's like old man walking around, family already. No, that's a very good one. All right, give me the thing about the Masters that you're most looking forward to.
I think the practice rounds leading up to it. I think I get to play 5 times, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to say anything wrong here but I think I get to play 5 times. And if I want to bring someone, then I think they have to be sponsored by the members. So hopefully we can get it to where I can bring a couple, my longtime coach and then maybe my caddy. And I think those are the moments I'm going to look forward to, is the times when the crowds aren't there.
All right. What is the oldest thing you own?
I guess it would be the oldest thing I own that's like materialistic.
Anything, whatever it might be a book, it could be a car, it could be a sweater, it could be anything.
I don't know. I don't like to hold on to things. Like it would be like a trophy or something that my mom has kept,
Like a junior trophy?
Yeah. I mean, my mom's like one of those people that love to just keep things. And I'm like, Mom, you can get rid of it. It's like, well, what if your kids want it? I'm like, Mom,
they're not going to want it.
Get rid of it. Yeah. But I really don't have anything. I mean, the car I have now is the longest I've ever kept the car. So that's cool.
Okay. All right. Last thing. What is the grouping you'd most like to have on a Sunday tied for the lead? One guy. And it's not like I want a piece of them, just the opportunity, the experience, the memory of coming down the stretch tied for the lead with, who would it be?
I mean, I guess in a major, I would have to say Tiger, because I would like to think that, like, not only am I playing against them and learn, but I'm also learning at the same time. There's a way that you can compete and still learn at the same time. People don't understand. You don't have to just sit back and watch and give him the stage. So it'd be Tiger in a major for sure.
Okay, Grayson, you do realize that if you're tied for the lead on a Sunday with Tiger, that the world will be completely off its axis, that he will be tied for the lead of a major. I was there with him in 19 on that Sunday, and it was unglued. If it was this year, first of all, it'd be the greatest, memory and moment of your life. I think the world might explode. And think about the ratings. I know that the playoff games are doing 50 million. That'd be nuts. No, I mean, look, that's the dream of anybody. I mean, he was your inspiration, was he not?
He was. I remember just watching him as a kid. Like, I would finish my golf practice early because I wanted to get back and watch him, around dinner time. And it's like you knew he was going to make that putt on that last hole every time, and he delivered pretty much every time. And it was incredible to watch. Like, I think he's the ultimate competitor, and we've seen other, I think Michael Jordan had that same mentality, and they're just wired different, and it's like they go about the life a little different, like off the course. And I wouldn't want to be in Tiger's shoes just with all the chaos it brings, but the guy has been fabulous to golf, and I hope he can stay around as long as possible.
I texted you after the win, and I said something to the effect, look, it was inspiring. It's inspiring to me. I'm inspired by people every day that people don't know because they're doing, productive things, healthy things, great things in their lives. And for someone like yourself who's in the public view, to see you do something like that, it's inspiring to me because, look, every day, we gotta, it's just for the day, and I don't mean this in a patronizing way. I'm proud of you. I'm more importantly, I'm happy for you because winning is winning, but finding peace in your life is the greatest reward, and the level of gratitude that I know that you have. Thank you for your candor, and I appreciate you having this conversation.
I appreciate you, Gary. I really do. I think, we can't do this stuff to get alone, and we're going to need each other, and don't feel free to, if you need anything from a 30-year-old that doesn't know anything, if you ever need, I'm just a text away. And seriously, I think anyone watching, I always see DMs pop up and, me thanking them, but it's all of us. We have to thank each other for being so open and vulnerable because, us males don't, I think, tend to like to be as vulnerable, just as it's just the way it is. And I think anytime we can open up and be very vulnerable to each other is really special. And, golf aside, like, I know we're connected through golf, but we're connected more than that. I appreciate it, Gary.
Absolutely. You said it right after you won. Listen, you talked about it because you know what? It's your responsibility to help somebody else, and you don't know how. You might, but it's your responsibility to pay it forward, to give it away in order to keep it. And I got it. I know it. And I appreciate it. So thanks again, buddy. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Of course. I appreciate it too.
Really appreciate Grayson Murray, his candor, him talking about things that maybe you've not heard before. Maybe you have with somebody that you know. And one thing I'll say, and I'm not speaking for him with respect to, forgiveness. He's got atonement to do. So do I. So does really all of us. But if you look at somebody who's 30 years old, who is finding his footing, forget golf for a second, in life, and then all the other things that come after it, I promise you that it begins with his sobriety. And he's an interesting story going forward because if you go back, he's the same vintage as Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth and Daniel Berger and Xander Schauffele. Same class, same bunch of guys. And he was right there with them. And if he finds some level, not saying he's going to be those guys, but close, that would be a hell of a story. Appreciate him. Most importantly, appreciate all of you out there listening to this Five Clubs conversation. We'll see you next time.